Hey, this is Neil of walkinthewoods.llc. It's May 4th, 2024, and I want to talk about the dialog function that I put together for doing HTML app MVPs. The dialog attribute in HTML is kind of new, but it's been around long enough that it's standardized in browsers, and it really allows you to create something that shows up on top that prevents everything else underneath from being usable until somebody selects something, which is really useful. And then, of course, Pico has some good stuff, Bootstrap as well, for styling it so it doesn't look like crap. And so I wanted something that I could use with promises and await and make it natural so I could very quickly develop dialogues and use them. So I'm just going to go through, this is the MDM documentation for dialogues, and I want to show you how it works. So I'm going to put this dialog together, and you'll notice I'm not going to grab any of their control stuff. I'm really just going to grab the dialog HTML itself because I want to show you how it works. So to start with, you could just call dialog and then the ID. And since this dialog has no ID, I can just call dialog and it'll find it and bring it up. And something that I noticed is I can press escape to close dialogs. I don't need to add an actual keyboard handler to hook into escape. That's something HTML dialog natively handles, at least in Chrome. I haven't tested this in other browsers yet. So that's something I'm going to do. But that's not that useful. Let's have something that has data in it, or at least a button. I'm going to keep going down, keep going down. Favorite animal, that's a good one. That's got a button and other things. So let's take a look at that. And notice I'm only grabbing the dialog. And I'm just using DevTools. It's a great way to play with stuff. Okay, now that's our dialog, and we have an ID now, so I want to show you, I'm going to use a wait on it because this works, and we're going to use the ID of the dialog, fave dialog, and I'll show you what happens. So if you escape from this, which you can, when you return from it, you'll get an object that is a map of all the data in the dialog, and then one of the elements will be set to true that was caused it to close. In this case, since I pressed escape, the dialog itself was the event source object, and so that ID gets set to true. However, if we click cancel, we'll see cancel was true right there. And if we click confirm, we'll see confirm is true. Oh, and confirm deployed the form. So let's, and now we need to reset all of our HTML. So this is something that you might find out the hard way. All right, and I'm going to remove the Pico CSS. A lot of the MDM examples use a form, which is really cool. But the problem with the form is it gets, when you click a button, obviously it's going to get submitted. So what you can do is you can say form method equals dialog rather than any other standard method. And now when we show fave dialog and click confirm, it's not going to actually submit the form. And in this case, we can see the confirm button was clicked. And you'll also see favorite animal is this funky string. And that's because this dialog doesn't set the select. If there's a way to expand everything. Expand all. Probably. Expand recursively. There we go. This select doesn't have any sort of name or ID, so dialog takes that into account, and you could just set a name, which is localized, right? You don't have to make that globally unique. It's just unique within that form, so we could set this to animal. And then let's go ahead and try this again and select an animal, and now we have a nice animal property rather than favorite animal with a colon. So see, it figured out that there was a label that preceded the select element or wrapped it. In this case, it wrapped it. And then it uses that as the object name. And it'll go through input elements and select elements currently, and I'll probably add some other things. And it will automatically hook up the buttons if it finds them. So if it actually finds a button element, it'll make sure that those close the dialog. But it doesn't just work with the MDN stuff. So you saw that I had some Pico things in there. Pico works too. These are just dialogues, right? So let's go ahead and bring this in. Yeah. A little cumbersome writing stuff like this. And in this case, it's already open. Ooh, and it looks ugly, but that's because we don't have the Pico CSS loaded. And I'm not loading the Pico JavaScript, the example modal. I'm really just loading Pico CSS. No JavaScript other than my JavaScript, my MVP.js to do this. So what I can do now is let's go ahead and close this dialog. So what did we call this? It doesn't have an ID, so we're going to just say dialog. Yep, and we're going to close it. And with Pico, when you have the CSS enabled, it will blur the background and slide the stuff in. And so if we want to show our dialog, in this case, there's no input elements, right? So if we close it, you'll just see that it was closed. And notice that it pulled the label close, and that's what it put into the object. So there's different ways that you can configure the property name. But maybe we want this to not just come in so jarringly. So you can pass in a delay. Let's say we want it to delay 1 second, and then it does whatever the CSS opening animation is, and it delays it over that much time. So that's a second. We could have it take 5 seconds. You could have it take 10 seconds. Probably need to close some of these. Yeah. And there's notice there's some fun things. If you don't have something to close it with, sometimes it's like, oh, I can't find the element that closed it. So it's sort of an automagic way of determining what property closed it. But let's move on. So the more IDs or names you put in stuff, the better it looks. Confirm your membership. This is a good one. Let's put that in there and try that out. All right. And you can see it there, but wait, dialog. So these are really nicely set up. So if I click on that, right, I get cancel, confirm. There's no escape button. If I press escape, that's when it closes it. There's no ID on the dialog, so it's just like, well, the entire dialog contents because I don't have anything identifying about this particular object. So if I wanted to make this better, I would add an ID to it, right? Which you should probably be doing anyway. Did I really just, okay, let's just say confirm dialog. There we go. And now if I press escape, I'll see, okay, the dialog itself. And because it's in a wait, you can pause until the dialog closes from whatever reason, and then get the data from that and decide whether or not you want to prompt them. And so in the next video, I'll show how you can use this to temporarily show a dialog for like a progress, which is what we have in the Surfy MVP. After you upload something, a dialog pops up, which is really just a modal hovering saying, I'm uploading everything, please wait. And when it's done, it closes itself, but it also gives you the option to cancel, so you can interrupt the upload if you think, oh, no, wait, this is taking too long, or I actually don't want to do that. We're going to have a cancel. Imagine that. We'll have an upload box with a cancel on it using this dialog functionality. And there was one other thing that was going to be nice about it. There's some script elements that you can set. So actually, let's show one more thing with the favorite animal. And I haven't set all of these up, but one of the things you need to do with all your HTML, and I think you find this all the time, is we need to reset stuff. So if I call the dialog, okay, save dialog, and then we choose an animal, brine shrimp, confirm it, fine. Oh, and that has the form thing in it. You can see I was testing other things in there. Oh, MVN. You did that on purpose. So call the dialog. Oh, see, and it's still set to spider monkey. Okay, fine, spider monkey. And let's put it in a wait so we can see the result. Okay, it's coming back spider monkey. Every time we show the dialog, it's got the previous information in it. And so what I've done is anywhere inside the dialog, if you define a reset element and then put a script tag in there, and this is using, HTML, so this becomes a kind of an invisible div, but if you need it to be completely hidden, you can put in that attribute. We'll see, it doesn't really matter. And then we can reset here. So in this case, we're going to reset that select. So save dialog select, selected index equals 0. So now when we load the dialog, say we select brine shrimp, confirm, it resets, which is great because then it's very simple. You can keep the code for resetting along with the dialog, the HTML for it, and doesn't actually need to be off somewhere separate where you can't see it. So, and there will also be a tag that I'm working on called validate that allows you to just quickly validate form elements rather than doing it in real time, because I think that can be rather jarring for users, that if there's a form, it will run validation on it, and then you can have it set like the validation stuff in Pico, so you'll see the nice little ARIA invalid attributes and stuff show up in red and that kind of thing. All right, so that's the new dialog function that we're going to be using for dialogues in our MVP to test out Surfy. So enjoy.